Spokane, we always knew we were something special. You people are proving it right here.
Envision a sustainable, vibrant Spokane. Envision a community bill of rights. April of 2008, they convened what was then the permanent board of Envision Spokane. And it was made up of 24 representatives from 24 organizations, and to convene and facilitate a broad-based discussion about the rights of people, nature, and neighborhoods within the city of Spokane.
Citizens really created this Bill of Rights.
Labor union locals.
Neighborhood councils.
Community organizations.
Canvassing almost 40,000 households, which reached almost 100,000 people, which is just about half of the population of the city of Spokane.
Exciting to watch groups that normally wouldn't sit down at a table together really sit down and be in relationship about what they want their community to look like.
And it's really taking the rhetoric that you hear during campaigns and 4th of July picnics and saying, no, let's make that real.
We have a city charter that's much like the federal government's constitution. You're familiar with that, and you're familiar that we have a set of Bill of Rights that are attached to our constitution. Well, here in the city we have a constitution. It's called a charter, and what we're doing is adding a Bill of Rights.
So the Community Bill of Rights contains 9 amendments.
A right to a locally based economy.
Addressing health care.
Ensuring that we have a stock of affordable housing.
Access to alternative energy.
That the Spokane River is protected. We value that river. It's the heartbeat of Spokane.
And it would give communities more local control over development.
Workers having the right to be paid prevailing wage.
And skilled workers are having access to have apprenticeships.
It demands employer neutrality when workers are talking about unionizing.
And then the Enforcement Amendment, which allows citizens and the city to back the protection of these rights.
The bottom line for the Community Bill of Rights is asking the question and trying to answer who makes the decisions within the city of Spokane.
It's about self-government and who gets to decide.
Probably the most innovative thing is to put some power in the neighborhoods to determine how their neighborhood looks.
People that live in neighborhoods, they bought their homes there, and they wake up one morning and there's a bulldozer just a couple blocks down and they're putting in a full housing development. When did this happen? How did this happen? Nobody asked us if we wanted our neighborhood to look like this.
In the South Hill, which is a very residential community, they're talking about putting in huge big box retail right in the middle of neighborhoods with no arterials that will get people to or from.
If there's a Walmart targeted for siting in a neighborhood, if the neighborhood doesn't agree that that's fitting with their vision of what their community looks like, instead of the developer cozying up with the planning department inside City Hall or the mayor or the city council, who they might know on a first-name basis, what the developer then has to do is negotiate with the neighborhood.
You know, a lot of people say, well, so it's anti-development. I say, well, no. It's more to start a dialogue between you and those corporations.
And what that does is drive the developer into the neighborhoods to compromise and work things out so that it's a win. Why is our huge reservoir that is both a source of fishing and recreation choked with algae and sewage sludge?
This is our resource. We need to protect it.
The river is essentially the lifeblood of this community. It's also made the list of one of the most 10 polluted rivers in the country. And mechanisms to clean it up in a real sense don't exist.
The health of that river, that is just like a vein in our body, runs through this community. If it is sick, we are sick.
As a result of mining companies dumping directly into the river, this river is among the most polluted in terms of toxic mine waste. And I think the charter really gets at that really fundamental ethical question: who speaks for the river, and does the river have a voice?
This is about setting up some legal protections both for the river and the aquifer.
An individual citizen could say, no, you have to use the latest technology on your sewage treatment plant so that we're not killing the fish and killing the river.
I should not be thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to be at Sam's Club being a greeter or at Walmart being a greeter when I'm 85 because I don't have health care.
For the 16,000 to 20,000 people in Spokane who fall through the cracks of the current healthcare system, the healthcare amendment gives them access to preventive health care.
Emphasis on the preventive recognizing that our emergency room care costs are out of control, and that when people don't have health care, they're going to the emergency room and they are making costs much, much higher for everybody else.
For example, you would pay $50 a month, and then you would be entitled to go in and do preventative health care. Women would be able to get mammograms, women would be able to get pap smears, men would be able to get prostate exams.
So you know if your blood pressure is high, then you're educated about ways to, lifestyle measures to reducing blood pressure.
This Bill of Rights would call on the city to convene existing healthcare providers, so people like the Chaz Clinic, the Christ Clinic, people that are already providing this service, to create a fee-for-service preventive program.
The city is not obligated to pay anything. It lowers costs for all of us, it lowers costs for the hospitals, it lowers costs for the entire system.
In Spokane, the availability of low-income housing is an enormous issue.
And I want to see low-income housing come back to my neighborhood. Safe, affordable housing for everyone.
The amendment calls for the city not to pay for new low-income housing or ask taxpayers to subsidize it, but says the city must ensure that sufficient low-income housing stock exists for the needs of the community.
They could actually offer incentives to developers saying, we'll give you some kind of a tax break or some other kind of a break, that when you develop X% of low-income affordable housing stock within your development projects.
If we provide access to low-income housing, that is going to reduce homelessness and is ultimately going to reduce greater costs to the city. We have studies from a number of different cities which show that often low-income housing actually increases the property values within a city. Local business ultimately provides better wages, provides better benefits, contributes more to charity within the city of Spokane, and ultimately decreases our need for social services because they ultimately give more to their workers and back to the city.
And it levels the playing field so that local business has the same rights, the same access to credit and contracts as a multinational chain store might.
Actually creating a bit of a mandate on lending institutions to keep more of their money in the community and not invest somewhere else.
Which would ensure equal access to capital for locally owned businesses versus chain corporations.
The two amendments which cover workers' rights provide access to apprenticeship training for new workers and increased wages, both of which are ways to strengthen and vitalize the local economy.
No benefits whatsoever, that's not a living wage.
You should try and raise a family of 4 or something like that.
So this is about encouraging workforce development.
Isn't this going to increase our taxes? And the truth is that there really is no financial burden.
Part of the drafting and the finalizing of the amendments was deliberately focused on making this essentially a zero-cost proposal.
People really understand that this is what's really true democracy. These are the people, grassroots, that came together and decided that this is what they wanted their city to look like.
Every day that we work on this project, there are people that are empowered and are changing their lives and their neighbors' lives.
If the Community Bill of Rights is passed in November, what happens is that the rights contained in it, rights to a healthy local economy, rights to affordable preventive health care, affordable housing, rights for the river, rights for workers, rights for neighborhoods, become law.
We should decide how to live in this city, not the politicians, not the corporate bosses. And the Envision Spokane Bill of Rights says that we get to decide.
If I could change